Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We've got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. They always have been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto. Really apologize for running late today, guys. Had some shenanigans going on behind the scenes, but we are here now, and we've got a great show lined up for you. As always, this is your week daily morning show where we bring you the latest in Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and technical analysis. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency technical on-chain and fundamental analysis. I can get that right. If you haven't noticed, today's my first day off of coffee again. As you guys know, I've had this whole saga where I'm going off of coffee. But anyway, what I was saying is that this is your week daily morning show where we bring you the latest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency technical on-chain and fundamental analysis so that you can be caught up to speed on what's going on in the markets, not just crypto, but also the global markets, so that you have a better understanding of where Bitcoin is and where Bitcoin may be heading. We're back in studio today. Really appreciate all of you guys for being patient with me. Has been a hectic couple of days, but we are really looking forward to jumping into this stream. Really looking forward to reading some chat here. Doesn't look like we have any green names in chat right now. We're an hour late, so the normal guys are probably the green names that are used to being here at the normal time might not be here right now because they have other schedules, but really excited to bring the stream with you guys. Let's see. We got Brent Holt said, "Good morning, Jebb and fellow Crypto Knights. Cheers." Bearded Hodler said, "Jebb, you should air this as a podcast too." Well, I was just thinking that this microphone sounds so good that it would sound good as a podcast, wouldn't it? If you're hearing the sound of my voice, then you are in the crypto zone. There you go. You're in the danger zone. What's up, chat? Sherman Nation said, "What's up, chat?" That's a cool name. But coffee is life juice. You can't quit coffee. I can't, and I am quitting coffee because I want to have natural energy. And I really don't like the feeling that you get when you don't have caffeine in your system if you're used to it. So I know this is coffee and crypto. I'm not giving up coffee. I still will drink coffee every once in a while, but I'm going to be a little bit more careful with it, you might say. Cool. All right, so let's see. We got CW, a green name in chat. SMC in chat. What's up, everybody? Really how is it East Coast? What's up, Michael Mabry, the Twilight Zone? You are in the Twilight Zone. Looks like Justin Eubanks is in chat again. Shout out to anybody who was in our office hours yesterday. Had a wonderful time over there with Siobhan Golay and Brian and a few other people. We'll have some announcements coming out relatively soon regarding Club DeFi. Appreciate all of you guys' patience on that. We're hoping to have some announcements out to you this month, but potentially even sooner. Excuse me, by this month, I mean this coming month of January, potentially even sooner than that. But we will have to see on that. But let's go ahead and jump onto CoinMarketCap. As you guys know, Bitcoin currently trading down here around $16,500 and change, depending on what chart you look at. Of course, it has been trading sideways, though, on all of them for the last several weeks. In fact, the last month or more, Bitcoin has been sitting down here ranging perfectly, almost perfectly sideways at basically the exact same level that it's at right now at 16,600. And that's what I really want to talk to you guys about today is what is it going to take for Bitcoin to get out of this range? Are we going to break to the downside? Or are we going to break to the upside? Or are we going to trade sideways forever and ever and ever? And Bitcoin will just trade at $16,000 until the second coming? Probably not, but we're going to talk about all of that. Of course, it's not just Bitcoin that's trading sideways. We've also got Ethereum. Ethereum sitting at $11.94. We've got Binance Coin sitting at $2.45. We got XRP sitting at a third of a dollar. We got Dogecoin sitting up here at rank number 8, funnily enough, at 6 cents. Guys, the way that this market looks reminds me a whole heck of a lot like a certain period of time when I first got into the cryptocurrency space, namely 2017. Let's go ahead and come over here to community. I think it is cryptocurrencies. Is it? Where is it? I forgot where they put this in CoinMarketCap. Historical snapshots. Come over to cryptocurrencies. Go to historical snapshots on CoinMarketCap. And I'll show you what the market looked like when I got into crypto, which was over 5 years ago now. I got in July 31st, 2017. This does it once a week, so this is the day before I got into crypto. This is what the market looked like. We had Bitcoin. This is just nostalgia right here looking at this. We got Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP. Back then, those were the big three. They were always in that order for years. Then right after, we had Litecoin. It was almost always those four in that order, or those Litecoin would jump around a little bit. Then you had NEM, ETH Classic, Dash, IOTA, Monero, Stratus, EOS, BitConnect. BitConnect, if anybody remembers BitConnect, that was a really big deal back around the time even that I was getting into the space, and it ended up getting a lot bigger than that. You had Qtum, BitShares, which later went on to get renamed. You had Neo, which also later went on to do the same. Veritasium, if you remember that. Steam. Then you had Tether down here, Zcash, Waves. So you had about a market that looks similar to this. And I'm not even quite sure exactly how to describe it, but it just, looking at CoinMarketCap just reminds me so much of that time where you have just, it just feels like the current market structure has been, in a way, institutionalized. It is very 2017-esque that you have a meme coin sitting at number 8 on CoinMarketCap that's worth $9 billion. I remember when Dogecoin first passed $1 billion. That was the really funny story. Everybody was talking about how the founder and a team of like 10 people were in a room somewhere running $1 billion cryptocurrency, and they literally made it as a joke. This market reminds me a lot of 2017, but the difference between today and 2017 is that in 2017, the bottom was in. In 2017, we were in a bull market. It was a shallow one in 2016. It started picking up in the first half of 2017, and then in the second back half of 2017, just went on a tear and absolutely took off. I got in right before that just tear took place. Bitcoin was at $2,900. And that was an all-time high, or we were touching an all-time high, excuse me. We were running back up towards one. That's kind of where I feel like we are right now. Not in the exact same stance, in that the bottom may not be in. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I'm definitely not saying we're in a bull market, but the same kind of grassroots feel of crypto. If you've been here for as long as I have, maybe you'll understand what I'm saying. It's something that's very hard to describe because it's a feeling. If you've studied crypto, if you've done technical analysis, if you took CT2A back in the day, you'll know that there's something that I've taught for a very long time called gut feeling, instinct, that kind of sixth sense in crypto. It's just an instinct, and you'd be wise to listen to it, if not always making a move off of it, but always being aware of it. And there's a certain feeling right now in crypto that I haven't felt in about 2 or 3 years, and it's this cypherpunk led market. In 2021 and 2022, we had an industry that was so thoroughly led by venture capitalists and billion-dollar companies investing and celebrity endorsements and millions and millions and millions of retail pouring in for the sake of making a quick buck rather than actually buying into the technology. And to be honest with you, we all got kind of used to that. We all got kind of used to the feeling of it being a birthday party every day. We're like, oh, it's always something new. But that's not really the core of what crypto is. Those were all things that were adding on top and building the industry. And yes, the core has grown as a result of all of that attention and investment. But it really feels like we're getting stripped back down to bare bones. Bitcoin's really starting to feel the way it felt at the middle point of 2017 when I got in. Even before the 2017 craze, it's starting to feel the way that it felt in 2018, 2019, when it was just crypto. It was just crypto. I mean, the world had an impact on it, but it felt like its own. It had a culture that was not being so permeated by the outside. Maybe you guys understand what I'm talking about. Maybe you don't, but just something feels different. And it gives me a very good feeling because it gives me a real good feeling because I miss those days. I'm nostalgic of those days when people were in crypto to be in crypto. They weren't in crypto to make a quick buck. They weren't in crypto to make billions of dollars and to make millions of dollars. They were in crypto, yes, hoping that would happen, but they were here because they believed in the tech and they believed in the culture. They believed in the idea of decentralization, of financial sovereignty, of individual accountability for your own finances and your own wealth, for the sake of being able to make something out of yourself, the American dream, if you will, in crypto, but without all of the red tape that the government gives you. And that's what I really am feeling right now. So you might say, Jebb, I thought you were an analyst. What are you doing talking about your feeling? Well, the fact is, technicals can only take you so far. At some point, if the only thing that we were going to use were technicals and not instinct and not intuition and not feelings, I'm not talking emotion, but a sense, then what's the point of us doing this? Why wouldn't we just hand all the technicals over to a trading bot and then wash our hands of it and then walk away and let it do the work for us? There's something special about a human doing the trading. And obviously, I'm talking to a lot of humans here, maybe a few bots in the comments, but you don't know what I'm saying. Talking to humans on the other side of this camera, and you guys know what I'm talking about. There's that feeling, there's that sense, and don't ignore it. Because while you should never be led by your emotions, as far as I'm scared, I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm down, I'm depressed, I'm in the dumps. I'm not talking about those emotions, but I'm talking about an instinct. You should pay very close attention to those. You shouldn't always trade off of them, but you should pay very close attention to them. And the feeling that I'm getting right now is that just kind of this sense of, it's over. What's over? The downtrend. I'm not saying the bottom's in, by the way. But my spirit, if you will, the instinct that I've built over the last 5 years in this space is starting to lead me in the direction of, I really am starting to think things are going to start calming down. I think we're going to see a period of a lot of low volatility. I think we could see one more big flash crash. But the sentiment, which is really what I'm getting at, the sentiment, which is something you have to really feel. You can try and measure it, but you really got to feel it, is really starting to get where I'd like to see it for the absolute bottom of a market to be in. If you guys are enjoying today's stream, let's go ahead and smash that like button. Really appreciate all of you guys being in chat. Go ahead and drop a like if you have not already. Let's see. We are going to go ahead and jump onto the chart. And we're going to talk about Bitcoin. Guys, right now, Bitcoin's sitting at $16,500 and change. And that's a very important place for Bitcoin to be because this is where Bitcoin is building a foundation. If you look back here in 2018, Bitcoin had been building a foundation at $6,000, and then it came down and built a foundation at $3,000. Well, where did the market come back and test support the next several times? We had a support starting, and then maybe you go up about $1,000 on top of that at 5,700, go up to about 6,700. Then you go down to 3,100. Then you go up to about 4,100 or so, and just give those two as two zones for Bitcoin to sit on top of. Well, what took place is that we used this top zone that we built in the previous market, and we bounced off of it. Then we used this bottom zone that we built in the previous bear market based on our drop down to $3,000, and we built off of it. And that's where Bitcoin was able to go into the rally. It established market structure that into the future it was able to use to its advantage, and that's what Bitcoin is doing right now. We are seeing a huge amount of market structure being built right now. Let's just give it maybe a $2,000 range. Right in this area right here from the bottom, and then right in this area right here. It basically all creates itself into one big zone. And that gives me a lot of confidence in Bitcoin's ability to maintain this region into the future. I'm not saying in the short term, but I'm talking about into the distant future. Remember, I'm drawing these lines out here into 2023, 2024, and on even into 2025. Bitcoin is building critical support, and that's something that you're going to see show up on the VRVP. Just look at the VRVP. You see these lines, these boxes that I drew. They almost perfectly encapsulate all of this massive support over here on the VRVP. And by the way, the VRVP is still showing all of the support that we built back over here as well. In case we were to, for some reason, drop down to $8,500 to $12,000, then we still have all of this VRVP. I'm still getting used to saying that instead of VPVR. I know they changed the name a while ago, but I'm still calling it VPVR in my head. We have all of this support that we can fall back on, and now we're doing the exact same thing up here at $16,000 to $22,000. That's something that we should have done back over here. We are seeing all of this trading take place right here, and hear me here because this is really, really important. We're seeing all of this trading take place right here because it didn't take place over here. Does that make sense? The market needs to fill in all of this. It needs to fill a lot of this in. It needs to fill in some down here. It needs to fill in a lot up here. And that's what it's doing right now. Because the market didn't make slow strides to the upside like this, it just, boom, moonshot. Now it's got to come back down, and then it can start catching back up to that general trend line, if you will. If this were the S&P 500, then, yeah, Bitcoin probably wouldn't have dropped this sharply, but it wouldn't have dropped this sharply because it wouldn't have rallied this sharply. What we are basically forming is a multi-year-long Bart Simpson pattern. But the good news is the bottom is a whole lot higher now than it used to be. The bottom used to be $4,000. The bottom now is $16,000. That shows you 400% growth in the core of Bitcoin in just the span of 2 years. Let me say that again. We're bottoming out here at $15,500. Call it $16K for simplicity. Even if it goes down to 12, let's just say it goes down to 12. You're seeing a tripling in the core. What do I mean, the core? In a business, you have core consumers. You have core users. Those are the people that if they're going to buy an iPhone, they're going to buy an iPhone every single year, the day it comes out, and they are iPhone addicted. They're going to get one no matter what the price, no matter what the premium. You can't stop them. They're bought in for life. That's the core consumer base for a company. Well, every cryptocurrency, every investment, every market has the same thing. It has a core. The core of Bitcoin is basically, in my opinion, denoted by where the bottoms are. Where the bottoms are basically show that the market's not going to go any lower than this. It bottomed out here at 4,000, 3,200. Bottomed out here at 200. Give or take. Bottomed out here at $2. From here to here, the core rallied, 7,000% because it was so new. From here to here, the core rallied 1,500%. From there to here, the core's rallying almost 400%. We're building that core. We're not going lower. We're building the bedrock, as you guys have heard me say. And that's an analogy that it might be a good idea to go back to right now, is that there is a bedrock in cryptocurrency that we must not forget about. And if you're here, you're probably part of it, because if you were going to leave, you probably would have done so by now. And there's a lot of people also, don't forget, that have left in the bear market. They've left with their attention, but they have not left with their investment. They might not be watching YouTube videos. They might not be watching streams. They might not be reading the news every single day, but they still have $100,000 in Bitcoin. There's a lot of money that is parked in Bitcoin and crypto that's not going anywhere. And so that's one of the things that we have to establish when we start talking about whether the bottom is in or not. We have to establish whether or not that core is growing, how far it's going to grow, where the bottom's going to be, how far we are down into the bedrock. Because if you build a skyscraper and you don't give that thing a foundation, if you don't drill those pylons straight down to bedrock, then the thing's going to sag. The wind and the waves are going to come and it's going to fall over. But if you build on the bedrock, Christ tells us the same. If you build on the bedrock, then the wind and the waves will come and they'll beat against that house and it will not fall because it's built on the right thing. We can build our lives on Christ, and this market is building itself on the core investors who are not going anywhere. Not if FTX goes bankrupt, not if BlockFi goes bankrupt, not if Luna goes down, not if something were to happen, not that it has, but not if something were to happen to Binance or Crypto.com or Coinbase. They're not going anywhere because they believe in the technology. And if you're here, you're probably one of them. I'm one of them. I'm not leaving. I love this space. You might see me more sometimes or not here on YouTube, but as far as my investment in this space, I will probably be invested in Bitcoin and crypto for the rest of my life, to be honest with you. That could change. Spirit lead me, but I don't foresee myself leaving investment in crypto entirely ever. And that's where we find ourselves right now, is we're trying to figure out how much of this market that is still here is bedrock and ain't going nowhere, and how much of it is still waiting to be pushed away. How much of it still needs to be shaken out. You've probably heard people say 20 times during the bear market so far, one last shakeout, one last shakeout, one last shakeout. And I'm not here to tell you that we need one last shakeout. I'm not here to tell you that we've had all our shakeouts. I'm not here to tell you that we have 10 more to do. But I do want to lead you in some questions that might help you to understand. And a couple of those questions are as follows. Number one, what is the sentiment? What are you seeing in the cryptocurrency space as far as sentiment? Are people continuing to leave the space? Are people basically staying? Are you seeing YouTube viewership on all of your favorite YouTubers or viewership on all of your favorite news sites? Is that still where it ought to be? That would be a question. Let me just make sure I'm on the right screen. Yep, sorry about that. Are you seeing the viewership continue to drop? Are you seeing Google search continue to drop? We can even look at that. Let's go to Google search, and we can look at the sentiment traffic, Google search traffic, Google Trends. That's what I was looking for. It's not really going to be dropping a whole lot. The drop has already happened. And this is one of the big points I want to make to you, is that the drop on search traffic for Bitcoin has largely already occurred. This is the last 5 years. Let's go to. You can see it jumps up significantly during the bull market. And it jumped up a little bit during the FTX debacle, but it's already back down to these lows. It's already sitting at 16, 17. It's at an absolute low. The interest that was going to leave the space has left the space. We are now basically in bottoming territory. You can see the interest dropped off a cliff after the end of the bear market in 2017, which was almost exactly 5 years ago now. Interest jumped off a cliff, dropped down to 10 here, for example, and then it just went sideways for 2 years. That's what I was talking about yesterday, and that's what I want to talk about today, is the bottom in? Is a difficult question because it actually means two things. Is the bottom end in price, and is the bottom end in time? The latter of those two is absolutely not. The bottom in time is not in. We're not entering a bull market. We have not confirmed a bull market. Is the bottom in price in? Let's start there. Remember, we're going to talk about technicals now, but remember, we also want to continue to think about the instinct, the intuition, what the perception of the market is, not just by ourselves, but also by the masses. Now we're going to look at the numbers. These are the things that a computer could do, but they're still very important. But I want you to know that not to forget what I just said earlier as well. As far as price, let's look at a few different things here. One of the things that I want to show you is this chart that I've made. This chart more or less represents the trading channels that Bitcoin operates within during bull markets and bear markets. And this seems like a pretty complicated chart. It's not actually as complicated as you think. The first thing I want to point out here are these curved bands here. These basically represent the logarithmic growth of Bitcoin with its diminishing returns over the course of many years. If you extrapolate the current rate of growth logarithmically into the future, Bitcoin very easily reaches up into at least $400,000 territory by the end of the decade, if not even $1 million. But we're talking far into the six figures. I'm not just talking about 110,000. I'm talking about 200, 300, 400,000 within the next 5 years, if not more. Now, the other thing I want to point out here, these blue lines represent the halvings. As you can see, we're quite close to a halving in the grand scheme of things. If we're looking at the entire history of Bitcoin, this is the BLX Brave New Coin Liquid Index for Bitcoin chart, by the way. Type in BLX on TradingView, you will find it. You can see the halvings always, every single one of them, I can say always because it's only been 3 and it's happened every time, always have happened in the first third of a bull market. And that's what I'm thinking we're going to see this time as well. These red lines more or less represent how far away we are from the halving event in time right now compared to how far away we were back in these times. These are about a month old, so I need to move each of these up about 30 days. But if I just move them a little bit further forward, I'll get the exact numbers a little bit later off camera. But this is pretty much where we were in relation to the next halving event. We were bottoming the last 3 times. Hopefully you see what I'm saying there. And that's really important because the market cycle having to do with the halving event is very important. But what's different about this market is that this is the first bear market where the Dixie is just on a complete tear. I mean, we've had a powerful rally on the dollar before during a bear market. In fact, we saw that in 2015. That was one of the things that held the Bitcoin market down. But Bitcoin was a lot smaller back then. The strength of the dollar didn't have as much of an impact on it because Bitcoin wasn't as big and as well integrated into the global economy. It was not being treated as its own major serious asset class by regulators and investment bankers around the world, but now it is. On top of that, of course, as you know, you've probably gotten tired of me talking about it now, but it's a sad thing, but the fact of the matter is it's important. The Russian-Ukrainian conflict, that's a big one. That's a very big deal. There's a huge impact on Bitcoin. We see a global pullback in housing markets. One of the things we've seen recently is that we are now seeing for the very first time since 2008, quarter over quarter, housing price declines around the world, around the country in the United States as a result of these really high interest rates. People cannot afford to pay $500,000 for a home anymore when before they were getting 4%. Now they're having to pay 11% sometimes if they have really bad credit, or 9-10%. They can't pay $500. They can only pay $350. So the demand goes down into the lower price range, and you end up dropping the value of the entire housing market. And then anybody that's invested in a REIT, anybody that's invested in real estate, more specifically trying to get invested into real estate, trying to find property to buy for the sake of either home purchase themselves or for the sake of investing and building a real estate portfolio, all of a sudden they can't afford to do it unless they can buy it in cash because the loans are so expensive and money's gotten so literally expensive. So Bitcoin has never existed before in this type of environment, and that is a big change. And that's why I'm not quite as confident that the bottom is totally in. A lot of people are saying Bitcoin bottom, definitely not in. Some people are saying Bitcoin bottom, definitely in. I'm going to tell you, it's definite maybe as to whether or not it's in. I think that it's close. on price and in time, but I can't tell you that it's for sure in. Couple of reasons for that. Number one, during bear markets, Bitcoin always drops 85%. You can go back and check the 3 on your own. Bitcoin always drops 85% from all-time high. Thus far, it's only dropped 77%. If Bitcoin were to drop 85%, you can see it would drop down to the bottom of the box here, down around $10,800. That would be some despair territory, and you'd probably see more companies go bankrupt, and then you might stay sideways there for a while. That's a worst case scenario. I don't ever see Bitcoin going down into the 4 figures again. I think that would only be as a result of some kind of major conflict, even bigger than Russia-Ukraine, giant stock market collapse, housing market implodes, student loan debt blows up, or crypto.com or Binance or Coinbase goes bankrupt and loses all the customer funds or something like that. I think you would have to have a black swan to send Bitcoin below 10,000. But even without a black swan, I think it could go to 10,000. It would just take some time. So again, this is basically what I'm telling you. This box right here is where I think the bottom is. Top left corner, best case scenario. Far right corner, that right corner doesn't really mean a whole lot because you'd just be trading sideways into the next box. Bottom right corner, man, that's bad. That means the all-time high run takes a long time to get into a swing because Bitcoin bottoms in price before it bottoms in time. After it bottoms in price, it normally is going to have a lot of sideways movement, maybe right towards the bottom. Maybe it bounces and rallies a little bit, but it's normally going to sit down there at the bottom for a while. If it bottoms out here in this bottom left quadrant, well, the only way it could get there now is if it flash crash and it can only go to right here. So the point is, Bitcoin is probably very close to the bottom in price and in time. I think we will likely see the bottom before the 1st of April. No joke, I'm serious. But we may not know that is the bottom for quite some time. Several of the other reasons why I think it's possible that Bitcoin goes down below where it is right now is that it has support, but it doesn't have a lot of support under it right now. If you look at the VPVR, the VRVP, there's not a lot here until you get down to $12,000. After you drop down to $12,000, there is support, but that support is $4,000 lower than we are right now. If Bitcoin were to drop down to $12,000, which is where this is, that would be an 82% drop. That would be a lot more like the previous bear markets, and that would make a lot of sense. We don't know that that's going to happen because we have no precedent for what happens to a bear market when the market is in a correction during a massive regional conflict that's brought in economically every major financial power on the planet, and there's also an extremely strong dollar. We don't know what happens in that case. Regardless, whether or not the bottom is in, it's likely going to be, and this is where I'll start drawing conclusions. I think the bottom is likely going to be between where it is now at $15,500 or as low as $12,000. I'd be surprised if it went below that, but it is possible, and I think that bottom will be in before the end of Q1. And from there, I think with hopefully plateauing interest rates, although this may be a little bit soon, maybe it is a little bit after Q1, but hopefully with plateauing interest rates, hopefully with the Dixie calming down a little bit, hopefully with the world starting to adjust to higher interest rates and the more expensive money, hopefully with fuel prices coming down, hopefully with the real estate market, which this would be nice. We don't know this will happen, but stabilizing, then that would hopefully allow for Bitcoin to have a bottoming. Whether it does or not, the bottom is close in price, but it may not be close in time. And what do I mean by that? The bottom in price I define as the absolute lowest that the market goes during a bear market cycle. So during the previous bear market, the absolute lowest that Bitcoin went was, give or take a little bit, $3,122. That was not the bottom in time. The bottom in time was likely, you could argue, right about here when we started rallying up to $4,600. And you could even argue that the bottom in time was not until we broke above $13,700 and went into a bull market over here. And what I mean by that is that during a bear market, we have a multitude of different cycles. We have our bull market cycle, we have our bear market cycle, and then we have our accumulation phase. What I'm trying to get to the bottom of right now is, where is the bottom in price so that we know we're moving into accumulation? Let me just back up a little bit. There are 3 major points on a market that you want to pay attention to. The top, the absolute top, then you want to look for the absolute bottom, then you want to look for the bottom in time. The absolute top is whatever the all-time high is. Market normally doesn't sit up there for very long, although it can. Normally, you're not going to have to look for the top in time, if you will, because the market's normally not just going to go through a massive rally and then just sit up there and just camp out at right below the all-time high for months and months and months and then drop. If it's going to hit an all-time high, it's normally going to be a V-top. If it's going to go to the downside, it's normally going to lose exuberance at the bottom. It's going to trade sideways for a while. So what I mean by that is that if we look at the price, if we look at the chart, then what you're going to see is that, let me see if I'm on the right screen. I'm not. There we go. What you're going to see is that there's a top in time. Let me just go to a different chart. There's the top in price right over here. For example, you can see it was up 65,000, then it was at 69,000. These are not always going to be exactly the same, so there's basically two here, but this is technically the top. This right here is technically the top of the bull market. This is technically the top of the bull market, and everything before was the bull market. Then you have the bear market. You have accumulation phase, then you have bull market. We'll just go back on an old chart and plot that. And because 2014 to 2016 is so easy to do it on. You have the bear market, you have accumulation, you have the rally, the bull market, then the new bear market ensues. There are 3 points. Again, you have the bottom in price, you have the bottom in time, and then you have the top. The top's normally a V-top, the bottom's normally an accumulation phase. In between the bottom in price and the bottom in time is the accumulation phase. The question is, have we entered that yet or not? I would say that we are very close to it, whether or not we are there. I think we're going to see that bottom in price. We basically already have. It's almost a write-off. Whether or not it's come or not, we don't know. But then you're going to see that accumulation phase start. So what I'm really trying to get at here is that we're seeing a transition go on in Bitcoin. We're seeing a transition from a bear market to an accumulation phase. And that's actually a really important thing, because when you transition from a bear market to an accumulation phase, your strategy has to completely change. When you're in a bear market, you are trying to be as defensive as possible. You're trying to make sure that you're not sitting on a bunch of assets that are going to lose their assets and they're going to drop 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 95%, depending on what it is you're purchasing. You're trying to be as conservative and clutch your pearls as close as you can so that you don't lose as much money. You're trying to be a good steward of your finances. When you're in accumulation phase, that changes, because you're no longer clutching your pearls. You're saying, I was able to hold on to some cash from the bull market when I took profit at the very beginning of the bear market. I saw, okay, the bull market's over. I'm going to take some profits. We're down 20%. I'm going to get out, and I'm going to hold on to some profits, or whatever it is, however you took the profits, or you just have cash on the side. Then, during the accumulation phase, you're going to start looking at dollar cost averaging. You're going to start looking at buying those little scam wicks where Bitcoin drops $2,000 or $3,000 or 5, 10, 20%. You're going to start investing in yourself. You're going to start investing in a business. If you have it, you're going to start building operations. You're going to start setting up your life in a way that when the bull market takes place, you are primed and ready to take advantage of it. Let me rephrase something. Not setting up your life in that way, but making sure the things in your life are going to be conducive towards taking advantage of that bull market. You're going to have a plan in place, an investment strategy. You're going to find capital to invest in. You're going to prepare yourself. You're talking about the winter. The bear market's the fall, believe it or not. And then the accumulation phase is the spring. Is the winter. And then the spring and summer, those are the 2 good months, and that's the bull market. And that'll likely start in the next 6 to 12 months, very, very slowly. You probably won't see an explosive bull market for 2 years or more. But when you do, how successful you are in the bull market is going to be almost entirely dependent on how well you prepared during the fall and during the winter, the bear market and the accumulation phase. So that's a question for you is, do you think the bottom's in? What do you mean when you say the bottom is in? Do you mean the bottom is in time, or the bottom is in price? I frankly don't care as much as to whether or not the bottom is in price, because I think we're moving into the accumulation phase. I think we basically hit it, even if it's not the exact number, even if we might theoretically make fresh lows. I think we're, for the most part, done with the fall, the bear market. Now we're moving into accumulation. You guys got to realize we can sit here and do shorter-term TA all day long till the cows come home. But if the shorter-term TA is not in the perspective of the longer-term analysis, then you're not really going to be benefiting a whole lot of anything, because what you really need is to see what's going on longer-term time frames so that you can really zone in. I'm going to go ahead and read some chat here. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Robert Kolpinski said, if you don't mind waiting 5 to 10 years, definitely want to zoom out and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. Patience is a virtue. The Classic IT guy said, I'm late, and apparently we're all late. Yep, sorry about that. That's my fault. 9 to 12K is reasonable. I think it is reasonable. Forgot about Jebb's sick bars. Yo, you rhyming without even meaning to. Sick freestyle. I didn't even, I'm a poet and I don't know it. I didn't know. A lot of YouTubers calling for 10K Bitcoin and 500 ETH by the end of next quarter. 500 ETH, I'd be surprised by 500 ETH, but that's potential. That's a possibility. Yeah, like I said, guys, there's just not a lot of interest in the space. If you remember there for about a month or two when FTX, or not a month or two, for like 3 weeks when FTX went bankrupt, there was so much interest in the space because everybody was, and they're still doing it. We're making memes about Carolyn Ellison and about Sam Bankman-Fried, and there was so much attention. And I mean, this stream at one point got like 3,800 viewers because everybody wanted to know during the bear market. I mean, this is a month ago. Those are the numbers we were doing during the bull market. Everybody wants to know what's going on. That's what it is during a bull market because the attention's here. It's not where we are right now. Why did we have a double top? Well, I think we would. I think the reason we had a double top, excuse me, I think the reason we had a double top is because we just went so explosively to the upside during the bull market at the beginning that we had to take a huge correction and really consolidate before we were able to push up to the all-time high. I think $69,000 really counted as the all-time high, and we just got way ahead of ourselves during the bull market, first part of the bull market, because really, I mean, we just skyrocketed to $65,000. Market would have made a lot more sense if it had to just cut this out right here and not done all of this nonsense, and then just rallied up to $69,000 and then went down. That's kind of how I'd like to look at it. Yeah, just kind of, in a way, you can just kind of cut this peak out because the market just got a little too excited, and it was trying to end the bull market right here. That's how I would look at that, personally. All right, yeah, let's read a few more chat messages. Today's a good day for you guys to give me some questions as well if you have any of them. Cohen called for $600 ETH. Yeah, that's possible. I really would be surprised if we saw it go that low. Also matters how much bankroll you got, too. If you got over 100K, you're buying right now. If you have under 5K, you better time the bottom. I would respectfully disagree with that assertion, and the reason is that if you are sitting on less cash, you probably, and this is not a knock against anybody that has less money, but generally speaking, if you're working with a less amount of money, you probably have less experience in the market. That's a very loose correlation, so I'm not trying to attack anybody that has a small portfolio. You keep doing you and keep growing. But generally, if you have a smaller portfolio, you're going to want to be more conservative with it, at least in my opinion, and make sure that you're not catching a falling knife or missing the trade. That's a very deep argument, I suppose, that can go a lot of different ways. But the fact is, if you buy down here around $16,000 and Bitcoin goes up to $160,000, you're still going to 10x, whether you bought at 16 or 17, more or less. Scarcest asset on the planet, and that cannot be argued. Absolutely. That's why Bitcoin is so valuable. Yeah, but don't forget when Bitcoin was $3,800 during the pandemic. My portfolio is down 80K in a year, lol. Glad you're able to laugh about it. Because that's part of it. We've all lost a lot of money with our portfolios going down, but that's all money on paper if you're being careful. It don't cost to smash that like button for Jebb. Thank you, Robert Casanova. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Hit that like button if you will, please. Same pattern, guy. Bitcoin is following 01 Amazon to the T. Yeah, let's take a look at Amazon. Let's take a look at Amazon because AMZN definitely does have a lot of similarities to Bitcoin and also to Cardano, actually. AMZN. Amazon. The amazing on. Let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon back in 01 was a very volatile company. Of course, 01 was the tech bubble, and the market was extraordinarily bullish in 1998, 1999, leading into the dot-com bubble. All the tech companies were getting huge. And the ones that would end up going on to succeed were the ones that survived that trial by fire. And it's almost very similar to what we're in right now. About every 20 years, you have a technological revolution. The last one was the internet. This one right now is cryptocurrency, as well as a few other major technological sectors. A lot of that having to do with microprocessing. But Bitcoin and Amazon back in 1999, 2000, etc., did something very similar. They went through a double top right here, got a little bit too exuberant, so they had to calm down, and then they went and set a double top. It's normally why you set a double top, is that the first top was a little too exuberant, and you were really supposed to hit the top when the second top did, so the market maintained the momentum. Then the dot-com bubble happened. The 2001 attacks happened. That was down here towards the very end of that, actually. But the market was already in a nosedive, and Amazon dropped 95%. From there, it would go on to take many, many, many years before Amazon would go back to its former glory. But it did, and far outpaced itself. Because in the 2010s, with cheap capital, with cheap labor costs, with cheap debt, with near zero interest rates, following 2008 when real estate was super easy to grab and they got a lot of office space, when they were able to grow internationally, when the shipping lanes were open and you could trade anywhere on the planet for free, basically, and you didn't have to worry about piracy, and you had cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper microprocessors during that golden age of the 2010s, because it was a golden age that is now kind of coming to an end. At least is going to go through a major demographical, economic, geopolitical, and cultural shift. Those 2010s were extraordinarily bullish for Amazon. In that time, Amazon would go on to grow 3,000%. That's because of a few factors. But the one I really want to hone in on here is the canvas that Amazon was painting on. Amazon was painting on a canvas that really was conducive to its growth. Amazon grew so much because it had the landscape, it had the environment to flourish. It had no natural predators, if you will, that could even come close to it. Amazon today still has a $3 trillion distribution network, larger than just about any country's individual transportation network. They have that large of a global infrastructure to deliver things all over the planet. That's a moat that you can't beat. They had a landscape that was extremely conducive to their growth. As I said, they had cheap labor, they had cheap debt, they had an explosion in demand on the internet for goods. They had an environment that was very conducive to their growth, and it lasted for 10 years, and it will probably continue, but it may take some time before it's able to recover those all-time highs. That's where Bitcoin is not right now. Bitcoin does not have an environment right now that is conducive to its growth. If you put a sea turtle in Alaska, it's not going to do that well. Well, not a sea turtle. If you put a let's say a rattlesnake in Alaska, it's not going to do very well. Things going to freeze to death. You need to have the right environment for your critter. Bitcoin's a critter, and it does not have the right environment right now. Bitcoin is in a pretty crappy environment, all things told, right now. It has a very strong dollar. It has a very unstable geopolitical world that Bitcoin as a risk-on asset really needs to have stability to grow in. It does not have a lot of investment from the outside world because it's got a ton of regulatory scrutiny and controversy within its own space, eating itself from the inside. And Bitcoin is just not in a position to thrive. But neither was Amazon in 2001. Neither was Amazon during 2001. Neither was housing market in 2008. It wasn't anything wrong necessarily with the critter. It was something wrong with the environment that it was in. And when that eventually changes and you get an environment where it can succeed and thrive, then it's going to take over. That's what Amazon did. It was suffering. It barely survived in 2000 and 2001. But the fundamentals were there. The creature, the company, the culture that was Amazon was strong. It had a vision. It was set up. It was planned for the future. It had a position in the world. Bitcoin has that right now. It has potential is what it has. Profit, sure. Purpose, definitely. Potential, absolutely. And that's what I'm excited about, is that yes, Bitcoin's low. Yes, Bitcoin's dropped. Yes, Bitcoin has probably quite a bit more time to spend down here. But the potential is remarkable. It's Friday, so this is what I say here in the next 10 minutes will basically be our closing thoughts for the week. But let me just ask you some very basic questions. and you can answer these on your own. I'll answer them for myself. Why are you in crypto? I'm in crypto because I believe that it is the missions field that God has me on to preach the gospel to, and I believe that it is a place where I can achieve financial sovereignty for my family, and it's a place where I believe that I can make a real impact on the world, not for my sake, not for my own pride, or not for my own legacy, because I don't care about those things. One day I'll be in heaven and I'll forget about all this anyway, but because I can make an impact positively on you guys and hopefully for my family. That is the reason that I'm in crypto, is because it's the place that I have a gifting where I can exercise, hopefully, the fruits of the Spirit, and hopefully have a good testimony and witness to you guys for Christ. That's why I'm here. You have to answer that for yourself. Another question: do you believe in crypto? You ultimately believe in the Lord before all else, but do you believe in what crypto is doing? Do you believe that it is an answer to a real problem that really needs to get solved? I think so. I think the Bitcoin is a very strong answer. I'm specifically talking about Bitcoin. A lot of the altcoins, maybe not so much. There's a lot of altcoins that do things on decentralized technology that don't necessarily need to be built on decentralized technology. They can be built on centralized server and architecture. They can. I'm not saying that everything can. There's a lot of benefits to decentralization, but a lot of them are going to fail. I was trying to think of a polite way to say that, but that's what I'll say. A lot of them are just going to straight up fail. You can't spell crypto without cry. And PTO, because a lot of people are taking that right now while we're in the bear market. But so again, what do you believe that Bitcoin is the answer to the question, the answer to the problem? The question is, how do we put the power over our money back in our own hands? That's a question that a lot of people, whether they know they're asking or not, are asking with their actions. 15% to spend money overseas using Western Union. 3 to 5 business days sending a transaction via wire transfer. Every transaction over a certain size being monitored by the government. You pick it. You pick your poison. There's all kinds of reasons why Bitcoin is the solution to a question or a problem that the world has. Not just that. One of the biggest answers that it gives is the answer to inflation. For the last, 6,000 years, people have been attempting to store value into the future, and the Bible talks about moth and rusts coming in and decaying your wealth, and that's a very true fact, and we will never get rid of that entirely in this world because of entropy, the state of matter where things that are in order tend towards disorder. That is entropy. You can go read about it in Matthew chapter 6. Entropy was discovered thousands of years before physicists did. Things decay. Things fall apart. Things move from a state of order to disorder. Bitcoin is the most powerful tool, most powerful physical tool, and Bitcoin is physical. It's just electrons. Bitcoin is the most powerful physical tool in the known universe to store that wealth into the future as it relates to human society. That is a question that we've been attempting to solve for a very long time. We've solved that problem, tried to solve that problem in many different ways. Bitcoin is the most recent solution. We've tried to solve that problem by having stable societies so that we can buy property and we don't have to worry about the Mongols coming in and stealing it. We've solved that problem with defense so that the Mongols don't come in and steal it. We've solved that problem with technology so that when the Mongols come, we can keep them away. We've solved that problem with gold so that when the Mongols come, then we can keep the gold in one castle and then we can keep it really protected. We've solved the problem of keeping the Mongols away from our wealth, whatever the Mongols may be, in so many different ways. But the best, most powerful way that we've found to combat inflation, combat people stealing our money, combat people from inflating our money away, to combat people telling us what to do with our money, the best possible way that we found to do that is with crypto, specifically Bitcoin. There's no better way. And so, again, if you're in crypto and you're waiting for the bottom, here are some things for you to philosophically chew on that might help you with your endurance. Because if you endure to the end of this accumulation phase, you're going to be glad you did. Be a cheerio. Got to kind of sit back and just chill sometimes. Ask yourself the question, do you firmly believe that Bitcoin is the answer to the question? What's the question? Money? That's the question. Bitcoin's the answer to so many parts of it. No, entropy is the movement from complicated forms to simplest forms. Take a sand castle on a beach. The castle erodes because the grains of sand can only be ordered in a set way. Right. Exactly. Let's see. Let's read a little bit of chat here. Liam Bitcoin said, Jebb has good knowledge in many different topics. That's what makes this stream more interesting than a lot of other channels. I appreciate that. That's very kind. I do what Jebb says to do. I do what Jebb says to do due diligence. Everyone has different opinions and motives. We have to learn to cipher through them. Hashtag smash the like button. Absolutely. Crypto Savvy says BTC fall in the Amazon chart. Probably. I don't think we'll drop 95%, but I could see that. Jebb, how close do you think it'll be from the time when there is clarity with regulation compared to the next BTC having? Define clarity, and then we'll find our answer. The problem is we don't know what clarity means. It means so many different things to so many different people. It's always going to be a progressive, hopefully progressive, not regressive, but a movement towards one thing, but we're never actually going to have total clarity on it. There's always going to be some questions. But an inflection point might be what we're looking for. Again, how we define the inflection point, who knows? But I think you're going to have an inflection point in clarity in the next year or so. And I think you're going to see that because it kind of has to. The constituents want to know what happened to FTX. They want to know what happened to BlockFi, which we kind of know what happened to BlockFi, but they want to know what happened to Luna. People want to know what happened to that, and they want to know that it's not going to happen ever again. I'm not talking about Joe Blow down the street who, works at Cox or whatever, and he's just got a normal life. I'm talking about the institutions that are trying to invest in Bitcoin. They want to invest in Bitcoin, but they want to know that they can successfully. And the United States, opposed to almost every single other country on the planet, demographically, culturally, politically, and militarily, is set up for a lot of success, at least relatively speaking, to the rest of the world over the next 10 years. And Bitcoin is one of the ways that the United States can capitalize on that growth. The United States wants to maintain itself as a service-based economy, and one of the ways that it can do that is by maintaining investment and growth in the cryptocurrency sector, among others. Now, of course, there's a lot of manufacturing that's actually onshoring back to the United States with the beginning of the collapse of China, to be honest with you. But obviously, the United States wants to be on the cutting edge as well, because that's one of the things that has made this country great over the last 70 years, is that we've been the ones creating and innovating most of the technology. The United States doesn't want to lose that, and people in Congress realize that. Bitcoin is, in a way, a threat to the U.S. dollar, but if they can set Bitcoin up in a way that it cohabitates with the U.S. dollar, I'm not saying I want this, but if in Congress's mind, if they can set Bitcoin up in a way that it grows the economy and it brings hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars in investment into the United States out of places that are investing in Bitcoin, like the Middle East, then they're going to do that, because that's going to bring more money towards our economy. But it's probably going to be in a very specific set of guardrails that the federal government will set up so that the United States, so the U.S. dollar is not impacted too much. We were way below 50% drop. Oh, never mind. No one's talking about El Salvador and their use with Bitcoin. Yeah, the thing is, El Salvador is a pretty small nation, so that was a big deal for the sake of precedent. It is not actually going to do as a ton to the actual price, although it is doing a thing to the price. The thing is, you can't just look at the price and say, okay, we have $16,000 of value on Bitcoin. $327.42 of that's coming from the adoption in El Salvador. $127.42 is coming from Michael Saylor's adoption of Bitcoin. You can't do that. That's not the way it works. So just keep that in mind. All right. We got Sin City Crypto in chat. Said, hola. What's up, man? Good to see you again, buddy. Everybody go subscribe to their channel. They got a great thing going on over there. I think they had been on their stream a little bit ago. Got to have an interview with them down in Miami back earlier this year. So shout out to them. They're doing some great work over there. Let's see. I'm going to read you a really quick article here. Just a couple of things I wanted to point out here. Bahamian regulator. There we go. I got it. Bahamian regulator says it seized $3.5 billion worth of FTX's crypto assets for safekeeping. Back up. Oh, FTX. That's kind of the point of crypto, is that the money shouldn't have to be seized by the government for safekeeping. It's supposed to be safe on its own. And it would be if it weren't for the fact that the person that was stewarding that wealth, Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX, blew it. Just this headline, just really, it's so bad that it makes you laugh. The Securities Commission of the Bahamas said it moved nearly $3.5 billion from FTX's Bahamian subsidiary, FTX Digital Markets, into its own digital wallets. The watchdog said the funds are being held on a temporary basis until it is directed by the country's Supreme Court to deliver them to customers and creditors or to liquidators. The regulator took the funds after receiving information from Sam Bankman-Fried concerning cyber attacks on the systems of FTX's Bahama unit, it said. $3.5 billion. Yeah, I bet that was coming under attack, unfortunately. In a media release late Thursday, the watchdog confirmed the total sum taken from FTX's Bahamian subsidiary, FTX Digital Markets, and added that the funds were being moved into its own digital wallets for safekeeping. Oh, boy. I'd still really like to know where he was getting this $250 million bail. He was recently released last week on a $250 million bail and has reportedly been receiving visitors at his parents' California home, including The Big Short author Michael Lewis. Yeah, I bet Michael Lewis is very interested in talking to him so that he can maybe write a book on and make a movie. This is going to get made into a movie. You can mark my words on that. FTX's downfall will become a movie. And if it doesn't, there's definitely a lot of money to be made there. So, just kind of sad, but that's where that stands. Human greed never ends ever. That's true. I'm a believer in crypto, but if this all falls, this will be one of the biggest money-making schemes in the history of the world. Yeah, but it's not. The thing is, there's a lot of nonsense cryptocurrencies out there, but Bitcoin's not one of them. All right, guys. Well, it is Friday. Make sure to smash that like button. I really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. We're going to read a couple more chats here, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it out. Question. When most of the Bitcoin is owned by the rich, 80%-ish presently, right? Can you please speak to how this benefits everyday people and how to get more of it in the hands of the people? People need to be informed and buy it when it's on sale because that money because you're right. But the thing is, most of the people that are rich and holding Bitcoin, they sell it at some point. And a lot of them sell it on exchange because not everybody's a giant whale that has an over-the-counter place that they can trade and not put it on exchange where everybody can get it. We need to teach people to buy Bitcoin so that they are accumulating more of it. That, quite simply, it's a very simple answer. We need to teach people about Bitcoin and crypto so that they know the benefits that the institutions see, and then they'll actually buy it and hold on to it. That's what we need to do. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it out here for Friday. I really appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to stay tuned for all of our coming content. We have some more announcements and releases coming out in the month of January. Got some really cool things to show you, and will be coming out very soon. But I have to go now, guys. Before I go, though, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.